You are listening to Be Amplified, the podcast with Bri and Thais, episode 30.
Hey Amplifiers, welcome to Be Amplified, the podcast. My name is Thais.
And I'm Bri Seeley. We are the co-founders of the Amplify Collective,
A movement aimed at radically disrupting how purpose-driven women connect and operate in the world.
because we believe it's not just what you do, but who you are that matters.
Each week, join us for messages and interviews that will leave you feeling amplified and ready to change the world.
Let's do this.
Hello, Thais Sky.
Hey guys, Bri Seeley here.
We are so excited because it is season 2. Season 2.
I feel like we should have some sort of fanfare music behind that.
I know. I mean, when we launched season 1, we had champagne.
No champagne.
No champagne.
Well, bubbly water. Does that count?
No, it doesn't make quite the same impact, Bri. It doesn't make quite the same impact. We are so excited to be here with you all for season 2. We are blown away at the response of season 1. So many of you reached out to us letting us know that what we were saying was empowering you, impacting you, and inspiring you to live amplified lives. And that means the world to us.
I haven't even told you yet.
What?
I had dinner the other night with a member of Gary Vaynerchuk's team, and she said she listened to one of our episodes and is like kind of hard to please. And she was like, it was actually really good. And I was like, oh.
Look at that. Well, we really
Okay.
appreciate it. And, you know, the best way that you can send us love is to give us a review. You know, it's all about the algorithm. It's all about how these things are seen on social media. So if you have a moment and you want to praise on us, we would love for you to share it on iTunes. We always appreciate that. And we do have a couple of announcements before we get into today's conversation, just because it is season 2 and we're switching things up a little bit.
So our first big announcement is, drumroll please, we have...
I'm gonna keep doing, can I just do this for the rest of the...
No, you can stop now. We have launched a Facebook community to go hand in hand with our podcast, which is really fun. If you listen to the very, 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 very end of season 1, I think we announced it there. But if you'd like to join us there, we drop in love there all the time. There are hundreds of women connecting on there on a regular basis.
All over the world. This is not just LA based. This is
Yes.
entire world based.
Yes. And this season, we will be having extra super special extended cut versions of every single podcast, but only in the Facebook group. So in
Yeah.
order for you to get those extra super special cut podcasts and secret podcasts, we've been recording a few secret podcasts that will only go to our Facebook group. The URL is beamplified.community.
So it's not .com. You know, it's not beamplified.community.com. It's just beamplified.community.
Mm-hmm.
We're really excited to continue to grow this community of women who are looking to be amplified. And our guests come into the group and they share their love. And it's just a really cool space to not feel so alone in your journey of being amplified. And, you know, I know that we talk a lot about how when we're on the journey of self-development, we sometimes start to lose the friendships that are not willing to go with us to this new explored land. And the people in this group are willing to go with you. So it's a really cool community. Make sure to join in. And yeah, we'll get extended podcast interviews, secret episodes, just so many good things. So join us, beamplified.community. What else?
Jinx! Double jinx!
Oh my God.
Welcome to our lives.
Is there anything else that we wanted to let people know?
I mean, the other thing is you can mark your calendars. Actually, tickets are already available. We do have an event if you are in the LA area coming up
at Sweaty Betty.
At Sweaty Betty next week. It is February 9th at 6:30 p.m. You can go on to our Eventbrite to get all of the details. It is Amplify febmixer.eventbrite.com. Amplify febmixer.eventbrite.com. There's going to be 40 kick-ass women in a room getting rid of our business cards in the garbage as we walk in, getting contacts, phone numbers, and authentic relationships while we're there, and walking out of the door that night feeling emotionally full and really excited to be amplified in the world.
Every woman pretty much that leaves our space tells us that she just feels so inspired and connected, and it's really cool to see what happens when you put conscious women in a room together and you tell them they don't get to cop out by just talking about business, and they actually get to show up. It's a really cool event. So come join us. We are doing mixers every other month this year, so you'll be hearing about them less, but they're going to be just as exciting and powerful and impactful. Um,
We're
so,
making up our own words.
I
What's new?
mean, what's new? So let's dive into this conversation about fuck the hustle.
Ugh, I am
Um,
so all over this conversation lately.
and the reason why we're so inspired by this conversation is because, it's close towards the beginning of 2017. And so we've been seeing a lot of women create goals for themselves. And I think we should actually talk goals too, because I have a lot of things to say as I've been coaching my women on their goal setting. So pencil mark that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're seeing a lot of women that are very ambitious, very excited to grow their business or excited to be more, get more out of life. Feel like in order for them to do that, they have to do more. And it's a very easy lie. It's not a lie. It's a perspective, and
It's a trap.
it's I see it a lot in the masculine energy, like men coaches. Like if you ask Gary Vaynerchuk, if you actually Gary Vaynerchuk's book, like the first thing is like, what's the number one ingredient for success, and he goes, hustle. And, if you ask all of these male coaches, the majority of them will say results matter. How much you're doing matters, and there's nothing wrong with that perspective, and that's the perspective that has created the society that we've created. However, it's now time to balance that masculine energy with the feminine energy. And we're here to introduce the feminine energy. So we're not saying that it's not good to do and be proactive. Of course it is. And it feels good. And you want to be, growing things and doing things. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if it's not balanced out with the feminine energy that we're going to talk about, it can feel very, very, very stressful.
So that's the key. Like, we are going to be introducing a different perspective, but we're not saying that it's 100% of the ingredient. So we like to, both of us in our lives, balance 50-50. So it is important to do. It is important to get results. It is important to have a little bit of hustle, but it's not the primary thing. It's not 100% of the ingredients. And the culture that is going on right now, that is the primary thing. Hustle, 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 do. You need to be working 20 hours a day, fuck sleep, be like, you shouldn't be taking care of yourself. You should just be out there like busting ass constantly to do all these things. And again, while that's important, it is only half or a piece of the larger puzzle.
And it makes sense that we get caught into this idea that the hustle is the answer, because we see it everybody else and we feel almost a sense of FOMO, a fear of missing out if we're not getting the same results as the people in our lives. And so we feel that we have to hustle, we have to do more in order to get greater results. And the invitation that I have for you all to consider is, I genuinely don't believe that the multi-billionaires of the world, like Mark Zuckerberg or whoever else,
He's not working 20 hours a day.
He's not working any harder than someone who is working 3 jobs to support their family. We have 24 hours a day, and I truly do not believe, like, he may be working hard, but I don't believe that he's working harder. And so when I put it in that perspective, it's just an invitation for you to consider that working harder has its limit. At some point, you're going to burn out.
So the other perspective that we bring into both of our lives, and the successful entrepreneurs that we also happen to, share space with, do this as well, is this idea of being. And so for me, last year, I meditated more than I ever have in my life. And I had the most successful year of my business ever. Going into 2017, I have also committed to meditating more, doing yoga more, or I should say not doing yoga, but being in yoga more, being more present, being more intentional, all of those things, because the doing aspect is only half of the equation. If you are doing from a place of lack, or if you are doing from a place of incompleteness or feeling, any way out of alignment with that doing, it is only going to produce results that are aligned with that. And so for me, it's really important to get into that deeper state of being before I take any actions in the day, and make sure that I'm balancing out the two, because otherwise I'm I'm doing from a place of depletion, from a place of lack, and I don't actually then have anything to give to my clients or the
Well,
world.
and I want to back up for a hot minute because it's very easy for us to preach from our high horse and say just do less. And the reason why we're preaching from this perspective is because I understand, I really get, I see it in my clients all the time. This need to feel busy in order to feel worthy. This need to feel like if you're doing, then you're gonna feel worthy of your results. You're gonna feel better and happier, and it comes from a place of like continuously feeling overwhelmed and feeling you have to do more in order for you to get results that you want because you're not feeling worthy. And so it's very hard from that perspective for us to just tell you, well, then just do less. And so we're not trying to what am I trying to say, we don't want to make it sound like it's an easy fix. Like, we totally get that if you're driven from a place of unworthiness, of needing your results in order for you to feel fulfilled in life, then there's some deeper work to do there. But once you've done that deeper work, once you've created a void in your life, this is what we are encouraging and inviting you to consider. Is what if the state of which you do things is just as important as the doing of the thing? And what if you were more intentional and more present with every individual thing that you do, you actually achieve more, but you're also more fulfilled in that moment. It's about an intentionality of it. You can do the same amount of stuff, but you're really present to everything that you do. And when you're present and fully committed to every individual thing that you do, you don't feel like you're constantly running that hamster wheel and not ever getting any traction.
Yeah, what we see a lot is everyone like makes these to-do lists in the morning or at the beginning of the week or whatever. And it's like this huge snowball effect. So you start with this to-do list that's 50 things long, and maybe on Monday you get, 20 of them done, but then another 10 pop up. And then on Tuesday you get 20 of them done, but another 10 pop up. And so there's this constant like taking two steps forward and one step back, and two steps forward and one step back. And it's this constant push and pull energy. And busyness is honestly just, it's like a drug. It is as addictive as a drug, and it will keep your life full of all of these mundane things that actually aren't creating the kind of impact that you could be creating if, say, you were just choosing 3 to 5 of the right things to do every day.
Well, it's an intimacy issue, right? Like, when you're busy, you don't get to be intimate with what you're spending your time on. You have to just focus on doing. And we're terrified of being intimate with our experience because we're terrified of slowing down and what we'd find as we slow down. And that's why most of us don't. That's why most of us are obsessed with doing more, launching bigger, doing. And we see it in our community all the time, especially around this time of the year. It's like, I commit to doing more, or I commit to taking more action. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, really? Like, how are you going to commit to doing more action? Tell me, like, what does that even look like? Because if it's coming from a place of punishing yourself that you didn't take enough action last time, then you're not going to feel inspired to take more action this time. And if you're not taking action because of a place of fear, you first have to address the fear before you just take action. So a lot of these ambitions and goals are coming from a place of brokenness and wanting to bypass the work and just do more. And that's not the answer. That's not the answer. Of course, taking pragmatic steps are important, but if you're doing it from this underlying anxiety that you're not good enough and that you have to do more in order to make more money, and you have to constantly run the hamster wheel, you're going to burn out. And that's
Yeah.
just heartbreaking to see these women running around in circles and then burning themselves out and then feeling broken because what they're doing isn't working, and then feeling overwhelmed with all the things they have to do. And it's just again and again and again. And it doesn't have to be this way.
Fact. I was just reading this great book called The Art of Everyday Ecstasy. And it was really beautiful in that it's helping me to get into that slowing down, because I'm really good in the first 3 hours of the day and checking in and being present and all those things. And then I start getting into some of the daily tasks and, forget the beingness. And so for me, one of my word for this year is passion. And it's really bringing in this excitement, this joy, this energy into everything I do, in every breath I take, in every thought, in every moment. Like, how can I bring joy into this? And for some of you
Mm.
that have been following me so far this year, the new year was very a little stressful for me. My cat had to go in and have surgery within the first week of the year, and it was very like very stressful, and I did my best throughout most of it. Won't say all of it. There were a few text messages to Thais where I was like, I'm literally gonna die. Like, I'm not making it through this experience. But even in those moments, being like, how can I find joy in this moment? How can I be in this kind of shitty experience, like sometimes literally, and like really be okay with it?
And so, if you're experiencing some real shit, like
Literally.
like like job loss and lack of money, it's very easy to get into that frantic energy of having to do more, and I totally honor that. Like, I know it's scary, I know that it's hard, and you feel like you need to do more in order to get yourself into a normal place, but I promise you that that anxiety is not helping you.
Mm-mm.
The worry, the running around in circles, I keep saying that over and over again because I just keep imagining us doing that. We're like little ants, like scurrying around, running around and around, thinking we're so important and we're doing so much, when in actuality what we're doing doesn't really matter. It doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
matter. So, we invite a little bit more mindfulness and a little bit more of this feminine energy of just noticing the intention of what you're doing things from, and making sure that you're approaching everything that you do by asking yourself, am I deriving my worth from this? Am I deriving my worth from this, or is this just an experiment? When I create this launch, am I doing it because I think that if I don't get this result, then I'm not a good person? Or am I doing it as an experiment to just see what happens and be open to the result?
Speaking of that, let's talk about, because we actually just got a question from one of our coterie members
Okay.
about, with planning your year and things like that, how much do you launch in a year?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was a great, great question, because so many people think that you have to be launching a new product every week or every month or like all these things all the time. And so, Thais, what was our answer?
Our answer was focus on one thing at a time. Focus on one thing at a time. When we focus on more than one thing, we're diverting our power. And, we see a lot of these big brands that are doing one launch a year. And for a beginner, if you're just coming into business, we won't recommend doing one launch because that's a lot of pressure that's riding on that launch, and you're certainly not equipped to have one launch. But the power of that is you focus on one thing and you do one thing really well. And once you do that one thing really well, you add another thing and you do that really well. And it helps to not dilute the brand, because when you're launching constantly different courses and products and things all the time, you lose people. They're like, wait, what do you do again? It gets very confusing. And so when I see people, who are just starting out, feel like they have to launch an ebook here and then this and another this and another this, it's just coming from a place of anxiety and they're not clear on what they need to do. So go back and ask yourself, like, what can I commit to doing for the next 3 months, and just do that.
Yeah. So, piggybacking off of that, when Thais says launch one thing at a time, it doesn't mean this week I'm launching this thing and next week I'm launching this thing. Like,
Right.
at a time, we mean like longer than that. Like Thais just said, like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like us, when we commit to something, we commit to it for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's really important, because if you're course correcting every week, the universe is going to get confused as well. Like, not just your clients,
Yeah.
or your, people that are following
Well,
you,
and
the universe as well.
if you can't sell one thing, you're not going to be able to sell 10 things.
Exactly.
So
So if you're trying to switch what you're selling every single week, you are not going to find impact in any of it, and there's no longevity.
yeah.
So you need to like pick one thing.
And
Again,
get
like
really good at it.
like Tice was saying, this intimacy issue, get really intimate, get really good at this one thing.
Be known for that one thing. It's like all of my 2015, I sold one thing. That's it. And every time I didn't, it wasn't succeeding and it wasn't working, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm just going to sell something else. No, I got really intimate with the problem. Well, what's not working? How can I shift my approach? Like, what can I do differently? And that forced me to become really savvy and really know how, and become really aware of the problems and challenges of the women that I was working with. It forced me to get really intimate with my sales conversations. It forced me to get really intimate with how I was showing up in my business. And that foundation is what allowed me to have, a really great 2016. And obviously it's going to be an amazing 2017. But it's about really trusting that the one thing that is right in front of you is exactly what you need to be doing right now. Right now. One thing. My when I was thinking about when I was applying for colleges and I didn't know what major to to go in, and my dad said, pick one thing. Because I was thinking about going in undecided. And he was like, no, 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 no. Don't go undecided. Pick one thing. Go full into that one thing. In a month, you'll know if you don't like that thing. But if you go undecided, you're never going to really know what it is that you want. And I love that. It's like, do one thing, commit to it fully, love on it, see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, pull back, notice what's happening, and then go at it again. You don't have to do a million things at once. You really, really don't. But I do also want to talk about goal setting, unless you have anything else you want to talk about in this.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about goal setting, because a lot of times when around this time of the year, we're setting goals for the year. And when I've asked my clients to send me their goals for the 2017, I have received laundry lists of everything that they want to accomplish this year. You know, I want to call my grandparents two times a week. You know, I want to visit my family once a month. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it becomes like a laundry list. And I always encourage my women to think about what you want to feel like and look like at the end of the year, and really focus on the why of the goal rather than the how of the goal. So, for example, one goal could be, well, I want, what's a goal? Okay, like I want to call my grandparents twice a week. Okay, that's a goal. But that's not really a why goal. That's a how goal. And how goals are for short term. Have I lost anyone here? Let's back up. So if you're thinking about a goal for the end of the year, focus on the why goal. So for example, she wants to clearly be more connected to her family, right? So why is her goal to talk to her grandparents twice a week? Because she wants to feel more connected. That's the why. She wants to feel more into her family. And so that is the why goal. That is the year-long goal, to spend more time committed with family. It's a little vague, but that's okay, because it's a year from now. So if you get really specific, a year from now, you don't know what's going to happen in 365 days. That's your why goal. And then when you're looking short term, like, okay, the first quarter, the first 3 months, what do I need to do in these first 3 months to let me know that I'm working towards this big goal? So a goal that she could have is to spend more time with her parents, or to call her family twice a week. That's more of a how goal. That's great for short term, not for long term. Because if your grandparents, God forbid, were, let's say, to go, no, not God forbid, if they were to go on vacation, then you can't call them twice a week, and then what? And then you feel like really shit, right? We have like one of my clients with a goal that she wants to play tennis every week. But what if she, God forbid, were to break her leg? Then she would immediately fail at her goal and feel miserable and feel like she's not achieving anything. But her why goal is really to find more original movement, to do things that are fun and different every week. And so that's her why goal. So when she looks at her month, it's like, okay, well, this month I'm going to play with tap dancing, or this month I'm going to play with tennis, but next month I'm going to play with pole dancing, or whatever it looks like. Does that make sense? Your why goal is your long-term goal. And then how is only important when it's a month out, 3 months out. We do not know how things are going to happen in 8 months. And so setting yourself up for fail by expecting yourself to have certain results, it makes you feel like you're losing before you even get out of the gate.
So I will present a similar, yet a little different perspective, which is kind of how I approach things. So I couple goals with intentions. And so when I have my women work, say, on their year goals, we look at like, okay, well, say I want to take 2 international trips this year. So we look at that as the goal, like, okay, so in 365 days, you're going to take 2 international trips. We don't get super specific about it. But the thing that I do is I couple it with an intention. So kind of like Thais was saying, like, why do you want to take those trips? And what kind of woman are you being in the process? So again, that combination, like we were talking earlier about the doing and the being. So you are then being the kind of woman that is adventurous and is exploring different cultures, different communities, different things. And so even if you don't maybe end up taking 2 international trips, if you maybe take 1 international trip, but then you also explore the community in which you live, you're still being the kind of woman that is adventurous and that is exploring different areas and cultures and things like that. So I like to couple this intentionality, this idea of what you're doing with who you are being into the goal setting process, because I think it's really important. So, like now, say, so for me, I do want to take 2 international trips this year. Right now, I'm technically failing at that goal, right? It's because our brain categorizes things very quickly. So if my brain were to look at that goal at this moment in time, I'm failing at that goal because it's 11 days into the year and I have not yet taken an international trip. But I have been exploring some different cultural things in the last 11 days. I have been a little adventurous, gone to a few new places that I wouldn't normally go to, taken a few trips, said yes to a few things that I wouldn't have otherwise said yes to. So I love the idea of coupling that doing with the aspect of your being, because when you are being that woman or man, depending on, who's listening, you are then kind of making little ticks, little day by day things to say, well, I'm actively working towards that goal. It is not a fail. I'm exploring it. And by the end of the year, it will be complete. So that's kind of
It's
my,
kind of the same thing though, because
it
I
is
would
similar.
I would just say that, 2 international trips is a how, but it's not the actual goal. Your actual goal is to be more adventurous. So that would be your year-long commitment, is to infuse more adventure into your life. And then how do you do that in every given month could be to actually pencil in an international trip. So it's
Yeah.
cool. We have two different perspectives, but they're kind of the same thing.
Hmm.
So it gives you, those of you who are listening, a little bit more know-how of how at least we plan our year, but also a consideration for not creating laundry lists. I call it listing. We list ourselves. We create a list of all the ways that we need to be and do in the world. And it only sets us up to fail because we're not going to be able to fulfill every single thing in our goal list. And so I encourage you to break down your life into 2 to 3 different categories. Maybe career is one, relationships is another, health is another, whatever that looks like for you, 2 to 3 categories, and then 2 to 3 goals per category. And that's it. The power of focus is tremendous, and it's going to help you find more ease in your life. And the whole reason why we say fuck the hustle is because we don't want you working all the time.
Hmm.
We don't want you to be at your computer 30 hours a day. Like, that doesn't sound like fun.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, it's like, my boyfriend and I have been talking, and I'm like, I love what I do. I'm very fortunate that I'm very fulfilled in what I do. But when when I die, I don't want to remember only my business. I don't want to remember only the things I did in my business. I want to have a life outside of my business.
And let's be real, in your eulogy at the end of your life, it's not going to say, here lies Thais. She did a fuck ton of shit. Like, it's not going to
She
like
posted a lot
list,
on
yeah,
Facebook.
it's not going to list off all the things that you did throughout your life.
I
Like,
mean,
no one can, like, that stuff doesn't matter. Yes, it's important. Yes, it gets you to where you want to go. And it's not the number one factor.
well, I don't want my whole life to be prescribed as Thais as a New York Times bestseller. Like, even though that's one of my goals and I love that so much, it's like I want to be known for more than just having one achievement on a list that's very subjective and based on, some things that are completely out of my control. I want my life to be known as, Thais was adventurous and she was kind and she did all these, amazing things for people, and she, really supported me in a big way. Or I don't know. I don't know. It terrifies me that I've been spending so much time working that I'm not actually enjoying my life. And so that's been one of my intentions for my life and for my business, is to make sure that I'm really being present to what's in front of me. And it's a work in progress, and there's many times that I fail, but I do my best that when I'm in my business, I am fully in my business. But then when I'm with my boyfriend, then I'm fully with my boyfriend. And it's a way for me to say fuck the hustle while still hustling, while still making it happen for myself.
Yeah. So if you are one of the people whose goal, or I had even a few people write on my Facebook that their word for the year was doing,
Oh boy.
doing. And I was like, oh, it
You
makes
no,
my heart break.
you're doing enough. Like, what if what
Yeah.
you're doing is enough, but it's just not in the energy that needs to be. Like, do everything from the energy of greatness. If you're gonna do something, fully commit to it. That's all we're saying. Don't, not necessarily do less from the context of just sit on your couch and watch TV and eat bonbons. It's more like what you are doing is enough. It just needs a little bit more of you in it. It needs a little bit more energy of that greatness in it.
Yeah. You don't need to add any more to your to do list. I promise. This is me giving you permission to, in fact, I would say probably just throw away half of your to do
Yeah.
list. Like, honestly, most of the shit on people's to do lists isn't actually important. It's not actually stuff that is going to get you any closer to your desires or your dreams or your
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with hustling. We're not being black and white here. Just make sure to infuse it with a little bit more grace, a little bit more compassion and acceptance to where you are, and a little bit more greatness, more of that energy of presence and love, and trust that you're doing enough. One of my favorite mantras when I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough is, what if this is exactly, I'm doing exactly enough to get the results that I want? Like, what if that is true for me? How would I be right now? And I probably wouldn't be anxious about doing more. I'd probably go breathe a little bit. I'd probably go walk chewy, I'd probably relax a little bit more. And that's what we want. We want more ease in your life. We don't want you to have a heart attack by the time you're 40.
Oh, I was actually looking up statistics about, I don't know if people have read this, but like a lot of like big executives, when they retire, they have heart attacks very closely within like the first
Because
year or so.
their body can't handle the slowing down.
Yeah. And so, what if you can prevent that? And P.S., you can, and it starts now.
Yeah.
So for me, actually, I only look, like Thais said, I look at 3 things per month. And then when I'm doing my 3 things per month, I break it down into 3 things per week. And I only focus on 3 things a week.
Yeah.
And that is more than enough to create the kind of impact, the kind of business that I want to be having in the world.
I love it. Well, go fuck the hustle. Go infuse more
Mm-hmm.
ease into your life and more joy. You are doing enough. Start to examine the worthiness stuff and where you're seeing that you're deriving your worth from what you do, and see if you can untangle that a bit more. And come join us February 9th, and we'll talk more about this, because this is something that Bri and I are very passionate about. And we'll be happy to discuss this with you. So if you're in LA, join us. If you're not in LA, come join the Facebook group. And is there anything else?
You can always find us on all the socials
Oh,
at
yes.
the Amplify Co. Oh, and if you haven't yet, we launched a brand new website
Oh,
in
yes, we did.
December,
It
and
is
it's
beautiful.
pretty. Yes, so go check that out, theamplifycollective.com. We have so many great guests coming for you for season 2. So again, like Tay said at the beginning, if you love it, write a review. If you have a friend that would love it, go share it with them, and go be amplified.
Whoop, whoop.